Hi, good afternoon. It's my first video post in the discussion boards. I have been engaged in reading all of your discussions. I have spent many hours thinking about what you've said, trying to digest it with the full level of compassion and understanding that I feel like it deserves. I have been watching as you guys have responded to each other with understanding, camaraderie, compassion, and genuine respect, and I appreciate that. You guys have done an excellent job. What I'd like to do in this particular video is just to address some of the comments in discussion board 2 on seeking help. I think it's been pretty parallel. I have two sections and therefore two different discussion boards I've been following on this topic. I want you to know that the issues and problems and dilemmas that you guys have identified have been parallel. They've been spot on. So what that tells me is there's a common experience of the soldier. There's a common identification of the culture and the stigma and the challenges of what go on. In one of my sections, I will never forget this phrase, but one of the discussions used the phrase of the objective was to trick the quack. So I think everybody is aware that sometimes that the psychologists and the mental health people are considered the enemy because of the stigma, and I just wonder, and turn this to wonder, of is that due to their power of observation? Being a psychology person, when people find out I have a background in psychology and am a therapist and have had those experiences, they do two things. They either tell me more, sometimes more than I want to know, in engaging them in just a casual conversation, or two, they stop talking to me altogether because I guess they know they have issues and they don't want me to know that. I don't think along those lines when I'm just engaging in typical day-to-day. So anyway, whatever that's worth. Let me just make a few comments here. I've made notes. I hope that I can read them to you. I was planning on writing this out, but I thought, you know what, I don't want to write all this, and I think there's a lot of power in you being able to see me say some of these things, especially as I address the topics that have been illuminated in this week's discussion. I think you guys have identified great issues and barriers overall. It seems there is a common solidarity in opinion that a veteran or someone who has had combat experience would be much more effective in addressing the concerns of those veterans and soldiers coming back from that combat experience, whether that be years past or recently. That doesn't seem to be an issue in the discussions. Let's see, this light is kind of blinding me. The commonality for understanding is very important, and either to you or the soldier, you want to be understood. You don't want to have to explain yourself over and over again. You want to be able to talk to someone that has had that common experience. Let me just offer at this point, no one will ever understand your experience. We are complex people. We appraise trauma and different experiences differently. The same thing can happen to two different people. One person can walk away and rationalize it based on their coping skills, their background, their appraisal of the situation, the preparedness in which they went into this situation. So there's so many factors that go into it. So no one will ever understand completely your experience. Another person who has had a similar experience, you feel that they can quote-unquote feel your pain, so to speak. So I think that what might be necessary here is, one, maybe a little more understanding for those psychologists and therapists that, yes, they are bookworms. Yes, they have been to many classes. Yes, they have researched. Yes, they have tried to understand. Yes, they have not been there in the trenches, maybe. Maybe some of them have. You don't even know till you go talk to them. But I think there's also a bigger picture here. Even people who have not had combat experiences have an inhibition to go speak with a therapist or counselor about problems in general. We don't want to have weakness, whether we are a civilian or whether we are a soldier. I would offer that being a soldier and being, well, I think most of the students have either been Army or Marines, so these are the experiences I'm speaking to specifically here. It's an institution, and you have been groomed and trained and built to believe that you are this war-fighting machine that doesn't have weakness, because that's what it takes for that level of ego to go into those areas in which you're exposed to these levels of trauma, and you almost have to believe that you're invincible to go in there with the mindset to do what needs to be done. It has to be terrifying and overwhelming. I don't pretend to even come close to say that I understand that experience of being terrified and being exposed to that continual level of readiness, fatigue, fear, and then being told that you are supposed to be this invincible soldier and feeling those feelings of humanity. You've got this internal conflict going on, and then if you are immersed in a culture that doesn't allow you to validate your experience, you have this level of cognitive dissonance that can really throw people into a tailspin. Let me offer this on the other side of what happens from the therapeutic perspective. What you need to do is open your mind that there's not going to be one source, there's not going to be one treatment. You may have to engage those psychologists and counselors, and to whatever level that feels comfortable. I do think there needs to be education for leaders and culture. I think that it's going to be a challenge. I think there's been a lot of good intentions, and there's a lot of politics involved. As I don't know if you read the announcement on the sleepy principle, but everything is political, and sometimes psychologists and counselors have a mixed bag that they're asked, because one, they're asked to help their soldiers, make them stronger, offer them resources, treatment, medications, whatever that might be. On the other hand, they're charged with get these guys healthy because we need to rotate them with their deployments because we have these other issues. So nothing is as easy as it seems, and there's a lot of things that take time to change culture, and the psychological casualties of war cannot be overstated. I hope that you're enjoying your reading. I hope that these things are maybe helping you think about things in a different way. I hope that this video post and these comments might give you reason for pause in your maybe harsh judgments of the quack, the psychologists, the the counselors. There's probably a lot more names for them that you call, but there was this perception of those psychologists and counselors being the enemy, because I think maybe they have the power of diagnosis, and whenever one gets a diagnosis, there's this inherent stigma that something is wrong with you. So hopefully we can continue to educate and understand this phenomenon better, so that people understand that this might just be a transitional process that the warfighter goes through in re-entering a non-war zone, I guess is the right term to use. So anyway, let me just say I'm wrapping up. I'm running out of time here. Thank you for your posts. Thank you for your support of each other. You guys are doing an excellent job, and I will get to grading your papers for this week and those redos from last week. Thank you. You guys are doing a great job.